Hey everybody, welcome back to the Huddle, the Review.com's weekly high school sports show. I am Rob Toder, Executive Editor of the Alliance Review, joined as always by Mike Brown, Sports Editor. And Mike, we are through 1 week of the high school football playoffs, and it was not a great week for Alliance Review area teams. Marlington Dukes took one on the chin against Poland. But Western Reserve got a victory in Division 6, and St. Thomas in a classic contest, win or lose. That was a classic game, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. Let's start with the Marlington Dukes. Their late season slide continued, a tough loss. Poland came out very aggressive in that game and knocked the Dukes out of the Division 3 playoffs.
Yeah, it was really surprising. I thought that rematch would be a good game. And I don't know what happened to Marlington, after that loss to West Branch in Week 9, but their defense struggled. I know they were without DeMonte there early on in that process, but he was back, and what I'm told, he was at 90% for that game on Saturday night, but it just didn't happen. I think Poland got up early, and it just kind of snowballed on Marlington.
Yeah, Marlington started that game a 3-and-out, and Poland, as we said, the aggressor throughout that ball game, and they threw a deep pass on the first play of the game for them offensively and hit it. And you could almost just sense that deflation on the Marlington sideline after that first touchdown, and Poland then got an interception for a turnover and took that in for a score, and it was 14-0 before you could even get settled in your seats. And that a tough way for Marlington to end the season, because it started with so much promise, and it really materialized throughout the year until DeMonte Thomas went down in Week 9 against West Branch at the end of the first half, and you could just kind of sense a different air about that team. But I think they're set for the future. I think Ed Miley's really built a program there.
Yes,
he hasn't built a good team.
That's right. And they've had such a good run. They've had 3 Division I athletes in the last 3 years on a Division III football team is unheard of. It's incredible. I've never seen that in my 35 years here, and I think he got the most out of those athletes. And like you said, Rob, I think he's built a program. Those kids believe they can win now, and they do. And it's a shame it ended the way it did this year, but that program has come so far, and I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be right up there again next year, because they play the good defense, even though that kind of got away from the last 3 weeks. But that team played great defense. What I think had statistically was the top-rated defense through the first 8 weeks of the season. And when you play good defense, even when you have talent, or if you don't have talent, you're in between seasons, things like that, you're going to be in every game. And I know with that good defense, they'll be right back to where they were next year.
Yeah, if the other team can't score, they can't beat you. So,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
St. Thomas in Division 5, where do we start with that game? Down at Crestview on Saturday night. The final score ended up 51-50, and the Knights went for 2 on after the last touchdown, after their last touchdown, and didn't get it. But I give a lot of credit to that coaching staff. They knew, they know their team a lot better than anybody else, and you don't want to play for a tie on the road, is the old saying. You always want to go for the win on the road, and their players, I'm sure, were physically and mentally pretty exhausted. I'm sure Crestview's was. But I give the St. Thomas coaches a lot of credit for going for that win and being aggressive. It didn't work out, but I'd rather see that than a Cleveland Browns type of attack, or lack of attack, let's say.
That's right. And St. Thomas was our most consistent football team from game 1 until that last playoff game, right through. They played good defense, had good running back. The young quarterback came around, and you know what? That is. We talked about this before, Rob. That playoff region is awesome. The teams in that region are just awesome. Youngstown, Ursuline, and Kirtland, defending state champ, and Crestview, who's been in the playoffs, seems like the last 10 years straight. And St. Tom had a great year. It was just, you can't run from anybody in that region. Everybody's good. And it could have gone either way. I credit St. Tom for going for the 2. It's a shame it didn't work out for them, but they had a great, great season.
Yeah, and don't forget, everybody kind of might want to focal on that last decision to go for 2. But remember, they were down, I think, 30-14 at one point, and don't lose sight of the fact that they battled back from that deficit and made a game out of it. So, great season for Aquinas. They go 9-2. Their only 2 losses are to 2 playoff teams, Marlington and Crestview.
And we talked about Coach Miley at Marlington. Coach Budd at St. Tom has done the same thing. He is building a nice program. St. Tom hadn't been in the playoffs for a long time, got back in last year, won a playoff game last year, got back in, probably would have won a playoff game if they would have had a better draw this year, but he's building a program, and St. Tom football is back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our winning team from the playoffs, Western Reserve, They go to Shadyside, and they pull out a 19-18 win, a big win for the Blue Devils. That's not an easy. First of all, you got about a 3.5 hour bus ride down there, and then you got to play a really good Shadyside team that's playoff tested. So kudos to the Blue Devils.
Right, and who would ever imagine when the season started that Western Reserve would be the last playoff team from the area standing? And I don't mean that in a negative way, but Western Reserve lost a lot of good players from that playoff team last year. Yeah. And Andy Hake, and he's one of the best coaches around. I just love the guy. He's got so much enthusiasm. And here, they lost 2 of their first 3 games, and then they just roared back. And now they won a playoff game again. I mean, I just think the world of that guy. He's built a great program out in Berlin Center.
Yeah, now a tough test coming up, though, for the Blue Devils. They're going to face the #1 ranked team in the region and the state in the Mogadore Wildcats.
Right, and boy, you talk about tradition. You think of Mogadore football. I mean, that's small school football. That's some of the best in the state. And, they're going to have to bring it Friday night against Mogadore. I mean, Western Reserve is going to be a decided underdog in this. But, they were an underdog last week at Shadyside on the road. But they're going to have to bring their A game Friday night to hang with Mogadore at Ravenna Stadium.
Yeah, does it come down to turnovers and penalties, you think, Mike?
It may. And special teams, too. That really helped them last week. They had a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, and your special teams could weigh heavily in that game.
Yeah, that's that hidden yardage we always talk about in penalties and special teams. So make sure you check the review.com, and the Alliance Review all week will have preview stories on that game, and also the Malvern game. Malvern Hornets remain undefeated, and they're going to be playing in the second week of the playoffs as well. So we'll have some preview articles on them, and of course coverage of that game, the Western Reserve Mogadore game, and also Malvern on Friday night, and Saturday's Alliance Review, and of course on the review.com. So if you see us at the stadium, make sure you stop by and say hello.